Hey everybody, and thank you for tuning into today's Ed Talk. I'm your friend and host, Edio. Today, we're going to be looking at the North Pole and Mount Meru, a favorite topic of mine. Mount Meru, or Rupus Negus, black rock, stands the magnetic mountain at the North Pole. The Rupus Nigra, black rock, a phantom island, is believed to be a 33-wide black rock. Mercator described the rock's circumference as 33 French miles. Located at the magnetic North Pole, or at the North Pole itself, it purportedly explains why all compasses port to this location. The idea comes from a lost work entitled Invertio Fortunata, and the island features on maps from the 16th and 17th centuries, including those of good old Jerry Mercator and his successors. Mercator described the island in 1577, letters to John D. In the midst of the four countries is a whirlpool, into which there empty these four indrawing seas which divide the north, and the water rushes around and descends into the earth, just as one were pouring it through a filter tunnel. It is 4 degrees wide on every side of the pole, that is to say 8 degrees altogether, except that right under the pole there lies a bare rock in the midst of the sea. Its circumference is almost 33 French miles, and it is all of magnetic stone. In Jules Verne the writer, The Adventures of Captain Hatteras, the North Pole is occupied by Queen Island, occupied by a volcano, in the midst of an open polar sea. So let's take a couple maps and take some looks at what we see. Hyperborea. The term Hyperborea has been used to describe this mystical land, right? This fantasy phantom island, Polus Arcticus. But we have a lot of examples. Mercator is most popular for his map that was drawn, but we have plenty of examples of drawings of the North Pole where we see 4 islands, 4 rivers, a mountain range all around the circle. And here we see parts of our map that we're familiar. The Americas on the left, Asia. We see Russia. And we see Greenland. Greenland is the talk of some interesting things. And in the center, the story goes, is crystal clear, unsalted water. Crystal Lake refers to this. There are many references in the world of movies and film. And here we see again another example of Polus Arcticus and depictions. Another example. Everything is very detailed. This looks like a well done map. A lot of work. Now, sometimes there's liberties in art or creation, a signature. So I suppose that the middle of this map was, just added for fun. I've definitely heard stories about people when they were hired by kings to do maps, these cartographers. It was not a simple task, And if they didn't do right by the king, I'm sure there were consequences, to say the least. And here we have another example of, again, Greenland being so close. If you go on Google Maps and you zoom in on Greenland, you can't zoom in on any of it. The magnetic mountain is a plasma volcano. What is a plasma volcano? Pretty much a opening, the split mountain that releases energy from the Earth. The Earth is a vessel with plasma in it, and there's an opening. This plasma will come out of all magnetic openings, magnetic mountains, plasma volcanoes around the world that we all land on the land. But of course, mythology and philosophy, these are just things to get us through. There's no real evidence of anything up here. Here's some the 6th of January, 1967, by a satellite, clearly showing a hole at the North Pole. Or is it blacked out? On the right, we see a photo from 1968. The internal Earth, the inner Earth, Agartha, is said to have its entrance at the North Pole. We've all been on the internet. It's 2025. We've all been on the internet. It's 2025. We know all about Admiral Byrd and his voyage to the North Pole and the South Pole with lots of support. And what did they say? That the whole environment changed. It was a beautiful place. Are there lands at Hyperborea? Is that land inaccessible at this time? They say that our world has a firmament over it, a dome, an enclosed area. This area, perhaps, could have maybe a protective dome and inaccessibility to it. Perhaps it is protected. So the way the theory works is that there's the main mountain in the middle, Mount Meru, black rock, Rupus nigris right in the middle, okay? And then there are two other mountains that are in the water surrounding it. Right here with the red dot on it in the middle, Polus magnetus. Anode and cathode. Anode and cathode. Anode mountain and a cathode mountain, positive and negative, on either side of the main four islands, are like a circuit. Think of the Earth as a giant battery, and a battery kind of charging, and when it gets fully charged, there is a cycle that's been repeating for a long, long time. And the firmament, directly above, pointing to the North Star, in the stories, in my research, opens. If you think of the firmament as a dome above, there's an inverse dome at the top, a dip down. And that is the all-seeing eye, our eye of providence. Humpty Dumpty falls. An inside inverse lens at the top. An inside inverse lens at the top. And if that opens up, energy source comes in from the top of the firmament, and energy comes up from Rupus nigris, from the mountain, will shoot up. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Let's look at the past. Here's an example of plasma. The way plasma reacts, it can embody physical things and energize it. Volcanoes will still create plasma. But we're talking a lot of plasma coming out of this mountain. People knew for a long time about this cycle. And time after time, happens again and again, when the signs in the world show that this is about to happen again, families, societies would take cover. They would go underground to survive the event of a plasma apocalyptic event. Up in the top left of that image is plasma, and the shape that plasma takes. Been proven in many experiments. Now, many examples we'll look at of these pictographs are known as the squatting man. They're found all over the world, all kinds of time periods. Looks like a stick figure, a guy, right? But that is what the world has seen time and time again in the sky from all of the land. This common shape also looks like us. The shape of plasma itself, when creates things like us. It's why our fingers reach out the way they do. We are made in God's image. To say God is plasma is kind of light, but it is an energy force. How many times have you seen these pictures scrolling through and there's that kindergarten drawing? Yeah, we'll put that right on the refrigerator and we'll look at that every day. They put it there for a reason. It was very important. Arizona, Armenia, Guyana, New Mexico, Spain, Tucson, Alps, United Arab Emirates, Italy, Venezuela, and objects. Bonus points for anybody that can tell me on the second row, all the way to the left, that device. You'll get a free subscription to my Patreon. But let some of this soak in. And as I like to focus on patterns and repetition, there's no coincidences, we say that firmly. So when something reveals itself over and over again, it's not something that happened just then. Usually it will happen again. I don't think we'll recognize the pattern when it's completely over. Farmer's Almanac, you know what I mean? Does it remind you of anything? That symbol, that shape, does it charge you up? Any feelings that it might bring out? Yes, Spencer. That's a great comment, Mr. Daniels. Good to see you. And this is a real thing, and experiments have been done. Recreated this. You can recreate these experiments. There's so many different things and aspects of all the world, and they're so unique. And the more you study and look, it's not really that different. So earlier when I said the anode and cathode mountains, they work as pillars. Two pillars. The two pillars in many stories. When those pillars crumble, that means it's a sign that the cycle is coming to another ending, which is also a new beginning. So it's okay. It's a good thing. It's definitely a good thing. We have examples here of some statues, and you can see the representation of both pillars on the side. You've heard of the pillars of Hercules, pillars of Samson. The two witnesses are the two pillars. You'll always see two columns, and the representation of this cycle in drawings and images that are subtly placed there. Hey, St. Jim, good to see you. Oftentimes you'll see a reflection of the dome on the top with the all-seeing eye and a lot of images as well. Some other familiar images. The multi-headed. And that's plasma going in different directions. There are things in the sky that are photographed called sprites. There's actually things called elves. And they're pieces of plasma. And they usually look like a tree branch or our hands or something coming in many directions. In the middle of this image, if you can see, we have snakes, the Medusa head, the hand of God. When the plasma comes in from the top of the opening, when Humpty Dumpty breaks and all the king's men cannot put him back together again. In our stories, we are told the past and the future. That's not carving I Love Joan into the tree at the park when you're 15. Because a lot gets destroyed, I would imagine, after the cycle. And our blue beam that comes up from Mount Meru, yeah, they are everywhere, Mexico especially. There's so much in Mexico, and as an American, we're taught that, oh yeah, they don't really have the advanced stuff that we have. And the United States, North America, has the most pyramids in the world. They still have ones covered with grass. Love you, Graham Hancock. Big shout out to Graham Hancock for doing his research. And for some reason, people think that the San Andreas River at the border of Mexico, yep, there's some temples and pyramids down there, but no one thinks in North America. But of course, we know better. The mound builders. And that's just on the surface. Because all of them, as we know, tunnel systems deep, go in underground, connecting. And I can imagine definitely a reason to do such. But when we see these representations in these images, why? And why? And why? But it makes you think, and if it triggers a little interest, you look at an example and you find out a pattern, or you find out something that perhaps is a template, and try and lay that over something else. Another example of the land in the middle. Many maps. Arctus Polis, magnetic pole. They say that magnets only work because of the North Pole, don't they? I'm not claiming that any of this is true. This is just research development, of course. Here's a screenshot from a YouTube creator named J Dreamers with a Z, J Dreamers. He'll be tagged in the comments. And he does wonderful presentations and wonderful work. Big shout out to you, Jay, if you're listening today. Hope to be working with him in the future. There he is. There's my buddy J Dreamers. And here's a pictograph that he saw, which I believe was in Arizona. Hey, Chris, good to see you. Mount Meru, MM. The two initials MM, EE, WW, 33. Turn an E backwards, we got a 3, right? M and M. And as we saw, the 33 miles across. Is this what Tartaria was? Is this where Tartaria was? Because we know Russia is claimed to be Tartaria in that area because the Mongols, the barbarians, the Tartarians came from high above, and then they left. They probably are hanging out there right now. When we see the word barbarian and Tartarian, the word bar is repeated, and bar is exactly what it is, a pillar, a bar. Just like the anode and cathode mountains are the two bars of that side of electricity. Here's a conceptual idea of how our Earth could be a realm enclosed within itself. not claiming to know. But it's something that is definitely not really talked about. And if it is, it's only in a laughing way. But why would anybody take any of that seriously? Oh, oops. Well, they left it out of the middle there. But when these stories come together, and a source on this magnetic mountain is activated at a certain time, the light of God, the blue beam of life force, same thing like the fountain of youth, certain sources, the beam will shoot to the sky at a certain time. This is the concept. The same timing as when the poles reverse in the firmament, although I know it's okay just to listen, opens at the top of the dome here. You have to imagine a inverted dome at the top. The all-seeing eye, the eye of providence, is the dome at the very top that's inverted like a lens. Picture it like one of those mirrors in a store when you're taking a corner and it's convex and you can see all the way around the corner just by looking at it. This inverted dome at the top is where we get our reflection of Earth and a projection of the moon. So for the time when the plasma in this state, in the polar state and magnetism level we're at now, before the switch in the blue, now we reverse the polarity of the plasma, and experiments have shown we do get a different color. And the colors change. The ions get electrified. And the pressure that's building up in the Earth right now, that sometimes is above, will build up until it does. And we have the colors, the red from above and the mouth of Kronos that opens up. And the light of the God that comes out of the Earth itself, the life energy of this planet. These colors mix. These colors will mix. And for everybody watching, the kids on YouTube, what happens when you mix blue and red? You get purple. We've seen a lot of crazy things. Remember when everyone had pictures in the morning? Thank you, Kayla. Actually, bonus points for Kayla. Kayla, you get free subscriptions to all my channels, my Patreon. And these cycles. The aurora borealis sounds like a word, Oribus. The Oribus is the image of holding on to its tail. It's not eating itself, it is holding on to itself. Oribus, aurora borealis. And these cycles. There's another one. There's another one, which I love. One of my favorite movies from childhood that holds really true is The Orin. I know Kayla knows what movie this is from too. And it truly is a never-ending story. Cycles upon us, seasons. Hinduism is strongly connected to Mount Meru, the holy mountain. He came from the mountain. He was born of the mountain. The split mountain, the wolf mountain. And when it opens, the dance begins. We look at that symbol, right? This would be the idea of the plasma ejecting from the mountain. And as it is formed, that red dot at the very top we see would be conceptually the mouth of Kronos. The deadlights from it, when he said, don't ever look into the deadlights. And then the clown opens his mouth, and there are three lights. There will be three lights that appear. And then that's the plasma shape placed around it, causing great vibrations as well. The vibrations will be heard around the world as trumpets. When the trumpets sound, a lot of grand vibrations will happen. oh no, be scared. No, do not be scared. This is a time when the atmosphere depressurizes. If it's a pressurized system now and there's an opening, it's going to let it out. Oh, don't you feel better after you let out a little gas? Absolutely. And when things are depressurized, there'll be a lot less pressure. I bet we could all use a little less pressure, right? And when the depressurization happens, things will float. And then we get our notion of the rapture. When people get sucked up into the sky, things go flying around. But not all. People will become dizzy and unconscious. Things will change. There'll be a huge release of nitrous oxide into the atmosphere. A clowning gas. Is this something that's happened over and over and it's kind of being hidden from us? But there are such examples that were carved into stones or rocks as these cryptic symbols that are still to be found. We do know that evidence of certain things is being erased for reasons. The holy mountain, Rupus Nigris. To say there's nothing up there except for Santa Claus. So you can't go to North. Oh, Santa's there, kids. Oh, it's okay. As long as Santa's there, I feel good. I never had a problem with the North Pole, and we're all focused in this line of work at the South Pole, if there is a South Pole, and we go in circles. No pun intended about that. But wherever they got us looking, make sure we look the other way. Thing, especially in groups where people are looking somewhere, others will tend to look. So us visionaries, keep your eye on what's right. These pictographs. Oh yeah, I've been Ohio. I've been a topic. Ohio. Everything's going on in Ohio. I don't have it quite with me, but if you take it sideways, I drew Ohio sideways. Also resembles this symbol. But if there was a time, why not now? Why not us? I don't believe every generation goes through a similar thing like we are. So it's pretty exciting to see. This is a short Ed Talk today. Thank you guys for being here. We'll be going over to AT's live tier, a little promo plug right there. Be posting this up on YouTube in a little bit. Whatever happens, we're going to be all right. As long as we have friends that we really have now. Love you guys. I'll see you in a little bit. Right on. Thanks for being here, guys. And thanks for the likes and shares. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Hit that bell to get the notifications. And do me a huge favor, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. Really hard to gain traction, and I'd like to be an affiliate on YouTube so I can get some advertising, work on some plugs and promos, and we got the skills, guys. We got the biggest team there ever was. We're the biggest company. It's us. We have a lot to offer. And I'm going to pull it out of all y'all if it damn kills me. This is my destiny. This is my mission. Oh, holy from the mountain. Hey, nice to see you today. Good to see you, bro. And if you guys follow me, I will follow you back. Always throw something in my DMs if you like. Hey, research. If you want to co-host anything, let me know. One last plug. If you guys know anyone that wants any music lessons, whether it be piano, guitar, ukulele, singing, music theory, I am doing music lessons. I always have. I've taught in music stores, and I'm a good teacher. And I'm good at communicating and getting people to learn to do something. I'm giving lessons now for free. So anyone that wants lessons can get 3 free lessons, video to video, live lessons from me for free. I just want to get a nice base clientele, a little bit of feedback before I put out some guides out there. So at any level you're at, if you know nothing about it, look me up. Hey, potato. All right, I will see you through the chronosphere. Thanks for being here, guys. Make it much better.